levy that takes away 5.7 billion due. In his own words, this government is taking 5.7 billion Ghana cedis from the pocket of Ghanaians. And we think it is very dishonest because if you claim that you are giving Ghanaians 2 billion back, which was so untoward, it was evil by the previous administration, how do you give back 2 billion and take 5.7 billion from the people? It's only the NDC government that does that, justifies it, and expects everybody to say that that is some smart economic approach. We, however, have some alternative suggestions to make to the government, and I'd like to highlight a few of them.
That a bill is being introduced where it did not feature in the president's statement. At least leadership will be carried along. That is why every day we have conclave before we come to the chamber. On that day, on the said day, we had conclave. I was there. The majority leader came in late. The chief whip also came in late. There were other members in their leadership who also came. They did not even cough about it. Nobody told us about it. And then suddenly we saw the other people addendum. And even the other people addendum, they only printed copies for themselves. Yes. Yes. They printed only copies for themselves. And I had a reason to confront the clerk that this is a two-sided house, and you print other people addendum and you give it to only the majority. If you don't have ulterior motive, why would you do this? So clearly and thankfully now I'm told they are saying they will implement 16th of June.
For the power plants will be reduced, and you don't have to then come and impose these levies on Ghanaians at 8% to pay for the inefficiencies in the sector, contrary to the promise that you made. In closing, colleagues, it's already clear that the government intends to go ahead with the implementation of this draconian levy, and they will not listen to anybody's plea, anybody's reasoning, or anybody's alternative ideas. We as a minority group, representing over 10 million Ghanaians, and sometimes people say, oh, they are just 88. In our 88 constituencies, you will find over 10 million Ghanaians. We want to advertise that we'll be embarking on the following. Number one, we'll continuously engage the people of Ghana, civil society groups, driver unions, and the media to showcase the true impact of this draconian and negative levy that the government is imposing on us. Number two, we'll continue to stand with the groups of honest Ghanaians, the driver unions, the Chamber of Oil marketers who are opposing the levy or asking government to pull back and to engage better and not to go by this midnight introduction into Parliament and using their numbers to push it through. We know the government has a lot of goodwill, but this is not the way to do things. Number three, we'll continue to stand in solidarity with the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies in their position that this downstream sector is already heavily overtaxed. And now if you add this new levy, effectively about 26% of what you are paying at the pump is all taxes. And we'll continue with our advocacy to government to withdraw this levy and adopt less painful and more pragmatic options, some of which we have suggested in this afternoon's press briefing. We are grateful to you for your attendance, and we look forward to further engagements on this subject. We'll take your questions and do a quick summary.
All right, thank you very much. Yes. Please, your name and station.
Thank you very much. My name is Ajona.
Why are you giving the first bite to him?
It's for mischief purposes.
No, sorry.
It's okay, we can hear you. It's okay. It's okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Ajona, and I read for Afenyo-Markin.
Can we have some silence here, please?
Two quick questions. Honorable,
One question. One.
Okay. Basically, you are asked to come and address us on the economic component of the E-levy. But throughout your explanation, you seem to be highlighting details on the levy. Can you please tell us the economic implication of this E-levy? And as you compare the E-levy to
capacity charges into the PPAs. Government should include these in the tariff calculations to eliminate the need for off-book debts that are caused by the take-or-pay clauses in the energy sector contracts that were signed between 2013 and 2016. And you will recall that that is one of the major challenges that has created the stock of energy sector debt. The capacity charges and the take-or-pay charges, which could not be included in the tariffs. And so every now and then a bill is sent to the finance ministry to pay, and that bill is accumulating. If the government is really intended to pay, one of the things it should do is to complete the renegotiation, move the fuel purchases and the excess capacity charges into the PPAs, so that when people consume a certain realistic amount, then they will pay. Number two, government should quicken the efforts to bring efficiency into the operations of GRIDCO and ECG to reduce transmission, distribution, and other technical losses. You have followed the argument that part of the problem is the losses occasioned during transmission and distribution and collection. If government really means well, that is one of the areas to focus attention and front load. Number three, we're asking government to pursue the strategy that we proposed in 2024. They will tell you that we have the numbers, we'll push the numbers through. What are you left with? You have to let them have their way and draw the attention of the public to what they are doing. And that's exactly what we are doing at this point in time. Finally, there was a question on what sort of renegotiation. So, first of all, this issue of energy sector debt is not new. Recall that when we assumed power, it was at $2.5 billion, and the World Bank forecast said that it was going to get up to about $12 billion if nothing was done about it. I'm sure you've all read those reports. What our administration did was to start the process of renegotiation. You saw many times when IPPs were threatened that they'll switch off the power if we don't pay. And our teams, I recall Dr. Amin Anta and other teams at Finance and Energy, had extensive negotiations with them to ensure that they didn't carry through their threat. That is what a government does. So that you keep on the light without necessarily passing on bills to the Ghanaian people. That is the kind of negotiation that we're expecting this administration to put up when the IPP is back. Not just to say that we have goodwill, so Ghanaians swallow 8% tariff. There was a question about ESLA and its usage, and that you should blame the MPP for this levy. I'll let Honorable Abwajina do that.
Thank you. You recall those who are in Parliament. I'm talking about the press who are in Parliament. You could recall that if you go to the Hansard, you will find out that every year the ESLA report comes to Parliament, and it will debate. They will debate it. After debating before they approve. Have you ever hear or heard that ESLA was mismanaged? No, you didn't hear. All these 8 years, you didn't hear any of it. Currently, the 2024 ESLA report just came to our committee. We've gone through. We want to go into details of it, but we've never find it anywhere that ESLA was mismanaged. That was wrong. So take it as it is. Thank you.
Okay, so we just have the MP for Nsawam Aduajiri and the minority chief to just do a bit of.
I can speak from here.
Yes, yes.
So no.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Well, spoken about it. You know, when one says the bill was not captured by the business statement, indeed it wasn't. But for all of you, I know you've been in this house, you've been reporting for some time now. There is always a generic statement in the business statement that says bills may be admitted. Statement may also be admitted by the speaker. So it could be a defense on the side of the majority that yes, they can come under that generic statement that often features in the business statement. However, the practice has been where it is the case that a bill is being introduced where it did not feature in the business statement. At least leadership will be carried along. That is why every day we have conclave before we come to the chamber. On that day, on the said day, we had conclave. I was there. The majority leader came in late. The chief whip also came in late. There were other members in their leadership who also came. They did not even cough about it. Nobody told us about it. And then suddenly we saw the other people addendum on the, and even the other people addendum, they only printed copies for themselves. Yes. Yes. They printed only copies for themselves. And I had a reason to confront the clerk that this is a two-sided house, and you print other people addendum and you give it to only the majority. If you don't have ulterior motive, why would you do this? So clearly, and thankfully now, I'm told they are saying they will implement 16th of June. Yeah. So confusion, they don't know whether they are moving forward or coming backwards. So this is the reality, and I had to buttress it because I'm in leadership and I have to give you this privileged information. I thank you.
All right, thank you. Please, don't worry.
I don't know if there's a follow-up.
I'll just give you the final opportunity. Yes. So, just one last one.
No.
Joy.
I'm also here.
No, please. You are not supposed to do that. Not everybody.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I promised him.
My name is James Sabeji. We joy from Enjoy.
Government has no business of taxing the poor company.
Thank you. We shall respond to that. There are two questions in that. The economic implications.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. I listened to your question. You calling for your presentation, statement. You calling for total withdrawal. Do we have problem at the energy sector, and what percentage of levy will really help? And lastly, my worry, as you indicated, that they sneaked it in. Looking at their numbers and your numbers, I think there is this developing tendency at your end. Why is it that you said mighty minority, but the numbers over there, to tell Ghanaians that you are widely awake, we don't get the numbers over there. How are you addressing that one too?
It's not the fair question. Yes,
Implications. So again, I'll take you back to the past. When a 1% levy was introduced on transactions that people elect to do, we were told that the economic implications were such that it will bring economic hardship, it will contribute to inflation, it will add to the difficulties of people. Today, an 8% levy has been imposed across board on all fuel, or at least petrol and diesel. As a start, you can clearly tell that as the driver unions are beginning to warn, eventually it will catch up with fuel prices. And when it does catch up with fuel prices, when fuel prices go up, the transmission effect is such that the prices of goods and services generally will begin to go up. Now, secondly, you are asking a question about public engagement. Yes, we intend to engage in various forms. Today we are outlining to you some of the things that we are going to be doing. We are not ending here. We'll be engaging at various levels to get people to understand the real incidence of this taxation and how it affects their daily lives and how it translates into the prices of goods and services as they go up. There was a question about, will passing it through the tariffs be any different? And let me answer. You see, tariffs are not set by government suo motu. Tariffs are set by the PURC. So the government will sign its PPAs, and the power producers will go and make a case to an adjudicator who consider all of it and decide how much of it can be passed through. When government chooses not to put the fuel purchase and all the other matters into the PPA, But to do it on the side, to create a debt and then to come and slap you with a levy, there's nobody to look at that and to say that this can be passed on or this should be absorbed by the power producers. And that's the big difference. That's why we're saying that if you really mean well, let it go through the system and let the PURC and other entities have an opportunity to examine it and make a decision what you should absorb and what should be passed on. If government decides to keep it on the side and then charge you 8% to pay for it, you should be worried. There's a question about what percentage of levy will be a good idea. We've been clear. We are not asking for any percentage as a good idea. We are saying that listen to the driver unions and the oil marketing companies and the general public, pull back, engage some more, and find better ways of doing this other than just saying that because we have the numbers in the chamber and because we have goodwill, we will just slap it on people. Now, there was a question about the operations in the chamber. We have our strategies that we use to litigate all sorts of matters in the chamber. When the majority side decides that they will not in good faith advertise ahead of time that we want to introduce this tax. You were all here, you recall when we were approving the finance minister, and we drew his attention to the fact that the claim that he will increase revenue without increasing taxes cannot be true. I'm sure you were here, you recall. And that if indeed you could do that, we'll support him. Because they knew at the time that what they were saying was not true. On the day that they were going to bring, in fact, the day of the budget, did any of you hear them advertise this particular levy? On the day that the poor are actually the most affected, because unlike the rich, for the poor, every single cedi counts a lot more. And that's why we say it's midnight robbery. The e-levy, number 4, was payable only by people who opted to do money transfers. This Dumsor levy is payable by all Ghanaians, unless you decide to work every day. Because even if you're a farmer and you are buying fuel for your tractors to work on your farm, you will pay this Dumsor levy that this government has just imposed. It's payable by everybody. Number 5, while the e-levy had a limited cascading effect, this Dumsor levy has a total 100% cascading effect because it affects transportation. And consequently, any item that is transported, food, clothes, whatever, once you are transporting it, there's a cascading effect that eventually, when we go full circle, will be paid by the everyday guy. Number 6, the e-levy was designed to yield approximately 2 billion Ghana cedis from persons who elected to do transfers or transactions. Now, colleagues, you are here in Parliament. You will recall the day that the e-levy was repealed. Our good friend, the majority leader, was on his feet, shouting his voice hoarse that the government has put 2 billion cedis back into the pockets of Ghanaians. I'm sure you recall. This Dumsor levy is taking from everybody over 5.7 billion cedis for this fiscal year. So if repealing the e-levy puts 2 billion back into the pockets of Ghanaians, what does introducing the Dumsor levy, that takes away 5.7 billion do? In his own words, this government is taking 5.7 billion Ghana cedis from the pocket of Ghanaians. And we think it is very dishonest because if you claim that you are giving Ghanaians 2 billion back, which was so untoward, it was evil by the previous administration, how do you give back 2 billion and take 5.7 billion from the people? It's only the NDC government that does that, justifies it, and expects everybody to say that that is some smart economic approach. We, however, have some alternative suggestions to make to the government, and I'd like to highlight a few of them. The minority believes strongly that if this government is minded to pay off the energy sector debt, because you recall that part of their justification is that they want to pay off the energy sector debt. In fact, the president by fully announcing the full breadth of their strategy. Today, what we have done is to inform you that, and there's a very important reason. When bills are introduced here in Parliament, you see them advertised, sometimes we invite memos. This is a revenue bill of a very significant nature, and the government just clandestinely brought it in. As a result, the public has not had an opportunity to come to full terms with its various implications. Look at the questions that some of you are asking. So our first objective is to get people to really fully embrace the full implications of what is going to happen ahead of us. As we go along and as we measure the impact of our strategy, we will inform you of the subsequent ones that we are going to do. There was a second comment that this is justified because fuel prices are low. I'm shocked at that kind of rationalization. Fuel prices will forever be at this level. Check the OPEC forecasts, and you will see the forecast for world market fuel prices. They will never be at this level. Our currency is experiencing a rebound as a result of about 6 different things. Is it always going to be this way? So when you introduce taxes at this time, claiming that fuel prices are low, so everybody should keep quiet, what you are doing is setting up for difficulty in the days ahead. And we have an obligation to draw your attention and have this analysis done in detail. And that's why we're doing so at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have Honorable Michael Aidu, who is going to take us through some tree summary. And he's going to do that for about 5 minutes. Then that would be the end of this presser. Thank you very much. Honorable.
And a friend has said, and I say, a tax 8%. What about for March? I say, CD back 1 CD. I buy no, a 2 fan also, a fuel, petrol, diesel, I know yet. Ghana for so 18 year from saying, will be this uncommon. Now, the woman say, a tax 1 CD, I'm going to 2 4 C. Any minority, when they say, Eddie kind, a nyachum. Ana abana yi fi say wo ti abane kasem efri abra mobile bemu eni mobile bemu abra ye honorable to force no ye finance minister ne vetting nsema o kan ye say eye ono de onfa tax bia ma meto eye fan wo so ana eye energy sector de so na o share energy sector kai wo ne problems wo ha enye Ghana for ne wo so mutua ho tax into omo ade nhihye pa beba ama energy sector na gina ye da ko sori ya na omo anadwo omo afasum ase e de tax fofra ba beto ye so de ya wo bukra ne se wo hwe aban dada NPP aban no abra ye de D-Levy ba ye ne Ghana for di nkomo parliament ye ne parliament for di nkomo ye ne civil society di nkomo ye ne nkrofo bebre di nkomo ansa ane de tax neba eno na ma D-Levy eteba afom ba bedu 1%. We de efri nya atwom ne boni omo pese omo di Ghana fo nti omo de ba no esumase ana omo de bewrem na ye say ede enti ne di sumase dwa omo di sumase dwa ni da say ye krono na omo bo ana say ebeyi na we de omo de ba nso parliament ye dwubadie mu no wo de bibi say ba was a order paper I did juma no so and a business of the day no omo amfa so ama ye o minority ni ye hu dey say wo ho ne say omo NDC for ni mpa omo parliament ni bebre anye dey hu ye be na omo dey additional addendum de ba be kan order paper no so enimre ma omo be pia edi rem omo dey ba sa be na Ghana fo bebre mpo akwakoda omo nim de ekoso Ghana for the nyane aye say mobile bitua 1 CD ana enye 1 CD pepe keke 1 CD no what the percentage are 8%. If we say the taxes eba o man we mu when the first time I did tax ababy about the tax kese 8% aba and plain baby o hwe VAT the taxes I dey ba ye dey ba nkitenkete e bia 10 pesos bi ana 1% na ewuma na ye di kakra aka ho na ye 1.5% sa na akosro we dey preoccupy 8%. Na 8% no me no na eba betua Ghana ni bia betua bi eye tax a obi antimi endoje omo ye kuafo eto eye fan o petrol ni diesel e di ye omo adwuma omo di gu omo motor bromu spray omo mfuo omo di gu omo tractor mu di ye adwuma obi abetua bi gisa wo ye wa adre se wo benante o fa kan kwa wo Ghana ha 8% u betua bi chese enti se D-Levy na gisa wo kokko sendi sika ema obi ansa na watua bi ye di D-Levy baaye omo si D-Levy na ye krono enti we ni yam friend say we edi abetumi di amana ne say ya robbery atutubotom kese pa D-Levy ye krono a D-Levy ne nkrofo bebre wo Ghana ha na D-Levy kromo ntua omo ko bank no mako yiska no mako tia cash D-Levy ne ebi no mo pan omo fa ho omo nye de omo ntua gisa wo ye transaction ansa na watua D-Levy ana D-Levy mpo na ye 1%. We dey 8% no o ma ye dey say Ghana ni bia betua bi o a wo beka se wontua ni mpo no anye bia so be kwa akotade enti omo a omo de trucks efa eniema the call Ghana have baby ano. Omode 8% the better tax in so. Ama 4 number ton so. Ama wo na wo bekwa akoto ne ma no so ai etua bi. We na ye ne minority ye hu ne say entwa yi. Free say omode ba consultation bi ankoso na obete say driver unions asori omokasa. CSOs bebre asori a omokasa. Even date omoka say omoshe. Normal day tax no as starting point. One say oil marketing companies, Comac, association sorry say emboa. If we say omonim say existing tax are now 2 cedi 30% no, we be come at 3 cedi 30%. So some kohwehwe sika e de be subsidy tua. Ansa no mo timi aye bond a omo de be load for ne dia breye. Say aban de sha say enche obon say for short be nu ntina omo increase days ne say omo kɔ no omo ne omo pa akodi nkomo. If we say Oma anye engagement, stakeholder engagement bi ansa na omo de tax we ye den. Eba enam sa opepa na Ghana fo nya ma omo a ye to aba omo nya ne kese nti so omo fa bu o ma Ghana ni bia. Omo fa ne say obi aka hwe omo ntienti, obi aye walk over. Omo nti obi a de omo pe na omo ye den, omo ye wo mra hye bedwam. Omo de sa tax to abehye Ghana fo kon. De ya wo mu ni say ye papa John Dramani Mahama o ye omampanyi. Okokan say omo beye nhihye omo de betua eka e wo energy sector sabe no kan wan ti humpo say omo de tax bi ye dey eba omo read budget statement omo ante ho so omo de tax bi ebeba nti ba ne say na omo de tax we eba beto Ghana for so de e kan say tax no esododo ebebu Ghana for ko mu ebe praye ebe ma ye ho akire ye ene na ye say bi afa wo bo aba fom kakra na ekira ye danyane na say amanse dwaso pek omo koye niema na say fan wo bole kosra ana say danyane na say seed no asha say peja sa tax na ye bi on be ye flo ade minority e kan say e kan e wo energy sector no ade ama e kan aba kese eye excess capacity charges eye PPA agreement eye aban we 2013 to 2016 omo sign aba beto Ghana for so no ye free bibi take or pay say woji o wanji o utua sa eka no ana ama eka we nyina ba be meneye ana omo double standards omo ye ne se ena obisa omo se de kotua aka ekina obisa omo se de koto fan wo enti de ye bisa ne se de na omo di sika ne ye de e ba be ye sika no keka bo ma 5.7 billion na D-Levy e ma ye 2 billion 2 billion no mo se ye kro no enti 5.7 billion na mo ji Africa Ghana for botom no eno de e ye den de pesa Ghana fo nyina de o maso ene o madwe ba ho ne se sa e ka no mo sika ye o mo ba bagie de pa na o mo de be o mo de kotua ka ana so o mo de kotofa no ana o mo so ka se energy sector no challenges o mo betu bia solve de ye ka ne se take up no o mo ana sensan ye o mo nko no o mo ne eye o mo ma ye sa nyina mkane ane nkotena ase na contract no o mo ne o mo sign ye no ye nua John Dramani be kan say or call vetting or so mo be renegotiate contracts no na o renegotiate contracts ni wie ECG ne eye grid ko ni ade o mo transmission losses efficiencies e wom no woni o mo ntra ase fa nhihye pa KPIs nto ho e mo mo ntumi solve sa problem nyina nwi na wo the taxes e ba be she Ghana for so say ye tra ho e ma o mo de ade we kwa de be ba ne say ECG ne grid economy ade omo inefficiencies ne bekoso bibia eye energy sector na enye bia no ye beja ne say free say ye nya tax bia say enya enyo ebetua na che say Ghana for na ye ebre nti eno anene ye say esentro for momo aye na ye ne Ghana for nkasa momo nti ye ne ye besi form ye beko eye lorry stations ye beko ba bibia ye ne civil societies drivers e beko akodi nkoma chechro mu amoma hu sa tax 8% ye 1 CDC de ebreye de ya wo ho ne se uto eye liter of fuel a ubetua 1 CD uto gallon a ubetua 4 CD 50 pesos ese mo hu se that tax na bi wo hoda don na 2 CD 30 pesos bi wo ana 1 CD na beka ho enti se a gallon bia no ubetua be 15 CDs per gallon tax nkwa wo de ma aban de ye pese ya magana fo hu no de damase
yo